Welcome to the Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind podcast. In this week's show, we are going to recap Polaris 18. We are going to preview Grappling Kings 6. We are going to preview Fight to Win 189. And we're going to preview Emerald City Invitational, the third event. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine. Joined with my co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. We're just getting off some late night Sunday training. Going to do a Sunday recording of the show. Old school way. It's about 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday, so we're getting into it. Let's get into a little bit of news before we go to anything. Big news this week is ADCC tickets are selling out and selling out quick.
Yeah.
Do you have a sectional up here or no?
What?
What's sold out? I think now.
I think everything except for green and yellow.
Green or yellow, yeah. And yellow is so basically the front row seats are sold out, and the front row seats, the black seats, which are right behind the front row, purple, black, red, which is right behind the black seats, were all sold out in the first 30 minutes. And then the other seats behind there sold out in 20 hours.
And it was very difficult to deal with.
Everyone on Grappling Rewind, we had a fine time, and I just, for some reason, up in rural Maine, didn't have a great time.
Oh, I didn't know you were in Maine doing it.
I was at Rachel's dad's house.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and I was with that internet, like, from the yesteryear. That was a fun 11-hour drive there and 11-hour drive back yesterday. So I'm a little tired from a big drive. I got to train at my old gym. Shout out to Titan Athletics. Had a great time training there. Training with those folks. It was great to see my old training partners again. I got to go into an open mat or a Friday class. So that was a lot of fun. And then drive back on Saturday.
I can't figure out how to get to where you can see what is sold and what hasn't sold. So whatever.
Pretty much everything except
for yellow and green.
Yeah. So I think as of now, of the 1,100 seats that are available to be purchased, I think 6,000 or something have been sold in the first 2 days. They went live Black Friday. So if you are thinking about going to ADCC, you should get your tickets. I paid like tier 2 or tier 4 pricing for my tickets.
I paid tier 2.
Wasn't super happy about that.
Still a little expensive.
But it's going to be worth it. And the cheap seats are still available. Yeah. And I think you can still probably get tickets for under $100 for 2 days, which for a 2-day event that happens every other year in Vegas, it is pretty
decent.
Reasonable. And the seats are pretty good. Thomas Mack Arena isn't gigantic. All the seats are going to be pretty good. Okay. If you haven't got tickets, you should get tickets sooner.
I talked to somebody today at Open Mat that had been there last year.
Okay, really?
And he said that it was pretty decent. He said the only problem is if you're too low and you're like in front of one of the mats, to see across to the other mat's difficult.
Okay. Yeah,
that was his only issue.
So ADCC is going to be fun. I'm very much looking forward to going. We are scheduled. I got to book my hotels and flights and all that good stuff now, but we now
do all that shit later.
Have tickets. And I'm very excited. If you are on the fence, you should get your tickets now because, again, half the tickets have sold out in 2 days. Yeah. So that should kind of let you know the interest level in the event, which is exciting because this right now, ADCC 2019 was the biggest selling event for grappling, and it was 3,500 people. Yeah. We have now doubled that essentially for this year's event.
You have the tickets up.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. No, that thing. I have my receipt. I have my receipt. I haven't screenshot of the receipt yet, so I still have it up currently. Okay. But yeah, it's cool to see the sport grow so much on the professional side in the last couple of years, and to kind of be covering it and be part of that. I have no other news this week. It's been on vacation for me.
I switched affiliations.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome. Yeah, you're with us now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm in the Balance family now.
It's great to have you in the Balance family. You don't know that pretty much, I think everyone on Grappling Rewind now. We previously have people at other gyms. Yeah. Everyone that is currently on Grappling Rewind is all under the Balance affiliation. Yep. And it's neat, to have everyone that essentially is on the show. I train with now and again, so that's awesome. I don't think I have any other news other than I'm tired because I drove and my leg is not feeling great after.
And I was trying to think if
25 hours in the car.
If anything like extremely exciting happened.
It was Thanksgiving weekend. The ADCC tickets was kind of the biggest thing that was like, everyone was wondering like, are they going to immediately like sell out, or are they going to are they going to sell 20 tickets?
The thing I was afraid about was that we were just going to have everything shut, like. The whole thing was just going to lock up.
The website? Well, it did for me.
Well, and that
was fun.
It did for me twice. And then the credit cards didn't work.
Yeah, both my credit cards didn't work. I had to call Rachel to get her to give me her card because her card, it was fun. I'm still stressed about it, thinking about it now, but we're going. I'm excited. Let's move. I have nothing else for news.
Nope,
you want to move into the recaps?
Yep.
Let's move into the recaps of Polaris 18. We want to start. Want to start main event or lower on the card?
Let's start main event. Why not?
Main event, Ash Williams defeats Paula Miyao via split decision. This was in the gi.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen Ash Williams, the first time I have seen Ash Williams in the gi in some time. I think he might have been on Polaris squads in the gi, but I think he had a super fight that wasn't in the gi.
They made they had a conversation with him before the match.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he normally doesn't compete a lot in the gi, but that because it was Paulo, he had to take it.
Yeah, which is I respect, and he beats Paula Miyao via a split decision. I got excited in the pre-show because we're about to have a conversation about this match that I really love having.
Yeah.
For the past 4 years, I absolutely love having this conversation. This match is a split decision. Paula Miyao controlled the majority of the positional work that was had in the match. He was on top. He was looking for the back. He was controlling. He was actively looking to pass and to get to the back for the majority of the match. Ash Williams was throwing up leg lock attempts. Paula Miyao doesn't tap the leg locks. He doesn't tap them.
I mean, we've seen his feet go directions that his feet should not go.
There is a collection of GIFs online of him versus Gary Tony, or both Miyao brothers.
And his freaking facial expressions don't change. Like, he doesn't grimace or anything.
Nope.
He's
just fine.
Yeah.
There's a GIF. It's a I forget which Miyao, but it's Gary Tonin. There's an Eddie Cummings GIF. There's the Tyrotolo match in ADCC. There are a couple of other where guys just are ripping heel hooks on him.
Knees.
He's just like
his knees are just like whatever.
Yeah. I think there's a Keenan. I think the last guy to tap him might be Keenan in like a brown belt absolute.
Keenan's bigger. Keenan's
way bigger.
Yeah,
but I'm saying like doesn't tap the stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you throw up leg lock attempts on a guy, the guy that's known to not tapping to leg locks, do they count? And so Josh Palmer on commentary brought up something really interesting in this match, and it was you're not judging it on the submission attempt. You're judging it on does the attempt require defense. Kind of similar to fight to win rules. Like it's the defense, but in your head, in my head when I watch, I'm thinking about the attempt at the submission. Yeah. I'm not thinking about scoring the defensive reaction that it elicits. I'm thinking about scoring the submission.
And then think about it. The defensive reaction of Miyao is nothing.
Yeah, like, does it elicit on a defensive response? And for a couple of these, he moves and he starts doing stuff.
He moves and tries to get out and he tries to get a better position, but he doesn't grimace.
He's not really like,
and his foot there's a couple times his foot goes a direction that it really shouldn't go.
No, yeah. So it's an interesting match to score because obviously being a split decision, it was a couple of the judges saw it one way, a couple of the judges saw it the other way. And we talk about this for years in Fight to Win. Do you reward positional dominance more? But Polaris and their rule set, and in Fight to Win as well, rewards people trying to finish the match. The attempts at submissions, the defense that elicits is your scoring criteria. But in a match like this, where Miyao was on top in the leg drag, in the top side 50-50, looking to take the back, there's a really funny moment in this match that I liked. It was, you brought it up when we were talking pre-show. Miyao, there's a reap, and Ash Williams has a leg over for like a topside reap, and Paula Miyao kind of like looks at it and like motions to the ref like, "Hey, he's reaping my leg." Yeah. And the ref goes, "Yeah, it's Polaris, man. Like we're all good. Doesn't care." Yeah. And then Paula immediately goes, "No, cool." And then Barambolos off of it. And it was just a very funny reaction of like, wasn't upset about the reap. He just called it out to the referee like, "Hey, in case you like care, I don't know if this is legal or not. Most of the time it's not legal, but he's doing it. Yeah. Oh, it's legal. Okay, cool." And then immediately jumps through to like go to the Barambolo for the back. And Ash does a great job. We don't see Ash compete in the gi. I don't remember the last time that we have covered him in the gi. Okay. So it's cool to see him show up in the gi and then do well versus world champion level Paula Miyao. I'm a little disappointed because we're seeing, I think, Miyao, not regress is the right word. He's still very, very good, but we're seeing him, he's playing a lot of the game that we saw him playing like 2015, 2016, 2017, where he's trying to Barambolo to the back. And we're not seeing as much of the dynamism in his passing that we saw back in like 2018, 2019, where he started to like implement a different passing game, a more aggressive passing game. He started to add that to his arsenal. In the last couple of matches that we've seen him kind of muck with the feet, and we've seen him look for the back takes and the Barambolos again. We're not seeing that dynamism of passing before.
His passing, when I think about it, he was it Worlds? What was the last big? It was Nogi Worlds, maybe.
No, I don't remember.
There was a Nogi IBJJF tournament recently.
Okay.
That I watched his matches in.
Okay.
And he would just kind of. I mean, his passing wasn't as dynamic as it generally is.
But that was like, and that was such a cool thing to see him developing, to see him like implementing, and he's just sort of in the recent year sort of foregone that and like not using that again. And I'm curious as to why, because we're seeing more people take decisions and wins over him because he doesn't have that additional threat now where it's like, he's one of the best in the world at what he's going to do. But if you can kind of shut that down, if you can get your back flat to the mat like Ash Williams does on the Berimbolo attempts, you can stiff arm out, you can continue to rotate your hips and not get turned underneath by Miyao's Berimbolo attempt, you can take decision wins over him. And we're seeing people have sort of figured that out without the threat of that topside passing that he used to have. I think more and more people are going to continue to figure that out. And I just wish we'd see him lean more into that, because it was such a cool development that made him so dangerous. So there's that match. That's kind of my take on that.
And it was. I'm trying to think, because then he did Masters, but that was in the gi.
He does Masters.
Him and his brother
the past couple years.
Him and his brother did Masters in the gi, and they took first, second.
Yeah, and they do that typically. I think the last 2 years they've done that.
which I was and I only remember that one because I was like, dude, wouldn't it suck if you were like in a Masters division and like you were like, oh, it's Masters.
Yeah, and you run into Lovato, Sanji,
and then all of a sudden you look down and you're like, fuck, I have fucking Paula Miyao first round.
Hey man, this is for old people, guys. You can't. They're not the same old people.
You're old, but not the same kind of old.
Yeah, like adults in that, like adult competitors that got old enough to do Masters. So. That was that match. It was entertaining, really cool to see Ash Williams in the gi again and looking good.
Yeah.
So next match we had Jed Hugh defeating AJ Agazarm via decision. AJ Agazarm did what AJ Agazarm does, showcases really dynamic topside passing, sort of getting around, never really successfully got around or controlled Jed Hugh.
He never really effectively passed. He passed, but it was not long enough to ever secure
never really
anything.
Controlled him.
No,
and so Jed Hugh did a really great job.
And what was with AJ's like shorts? He looked like he was in a pair of like silky boxers. Like he wasn't in any sort of.
AJ Agazarm's gonna do what AJ Agazarm's gonna do. We've talked about AJ for
like,
years
dude, what
and
the
years.
Hell?
And
didn't he wear like sweatpants to a fight to win at one point?
He's done a lot of. AJ has done a lot of things. He had the very famous match, got kicked off the stage by Wagner.
Yeah.
He's had the match with Bendo. He's had. AJ Agazarm he's very, very good, and like everyone kind of forgets because like people give him shit for a lot of all the time because of his antics and how he operates.
Has a difficult personality.
Yes, but he's an ADCC silver medalist, very, very good, very, very good grappler, very tough guy to beat. But
he was just unable to pass Jed.
Yeah, he's unable. But Jed did a great job here.
Jed grabbed his legs quite a few times.
I think there was 3 of them that I noticed that were really, really tight. And one of them, there's a really close-up video on, I think, Instagram, and they have it captioned, where you see Jed Hugh just ripping this heel hook.
And you see his foot go a direction, you're like, oh, that's
when you hear something, I don't know if it's the pop or the crowd or something, and then you see Jed kind of let go and go like, you all right, man? Like, or he says something.
He said, like, are you okay? And
is it broken?
Yeah, and then he was like, whatever.
And AJ goes, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, man. Is you're like, and AJ's not going to give him anything to play off of. And they just keep going. And then the crowd yells, you got to break it. And then Jed looks at the crowd and goes, I did.
Yeah.
And it was a very funny interaction. They were both like lighthearted throughout the match. I was really impressed with Jed's continued entries.
Yeah.
He has one entry that I love a ton because it's an entry that I use. He rotates Agazarm off of like a topside hook and flows right into a knee bar that he then transitions into a heel hook off of that. But the knee bar looked really tight for a second. Yeah. Agazarm again, notoriously another one who's very difficult to tap with leg locks
because he just won't tap to him.
He just won't tap, and
he'll just let his shit break.
He's very tough, and you really have to injure him to make him tap. Again, Agazarm. Again, I cannot think of the last time. I remember Nathan Orchard in overtime got him a rear naked choke at like one of the early sugs week. I think one of the first or second sug we ever covered on the podcast. Did he actually
tap to it, or did he?
He tapped.
Oh, okay.
Because we were recording the podcast.
Because I would think he would just go out.
We were recording the podcast live because it was like 11:30 on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
And sug was going on, and we were watching this while we were talking and recapping other events when we used to do that sometimes. And Josh just starts. No, we shouldn't. Josh just starts screaming during the recording that Orchard has tapped Agazarm.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "Cool, Josh, I got to cut this whole segment." We had to redo the entire segment because it's just Josh streaming, and that's why we no longer do stuff live.
Oh, okay.
But that's, I think, the only time I can remember in recent history of Agazarm tapping to something like that. But very fun match. There's a discussion that Agazarm is going to get an invite to ADCC or get into ADCC again. He didn't do it last time because he had a Bellator fight, but he did get the invite. He is a silver medalist. Mo has talked about, is he training, is he not? But Jed Hughes'
at 77?
decision. I don't know. I think he was at 66. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very possible. But again, Jed Hughes looked good here. Super curious to see, where they both go from here.
Yeah.
Next match. This is a fun match. This is a big, I'm going to say a big upset.
Okay.
Because not a lot of people know, I think, who Igor Tanabe is. Igor Tanabe defeated Tommy Langaker via choke from the back, like a modified bow and arrow choke from the back. We've been covering Igor Tanabe since he was a purple belt on Quintet. He had a match with Hassam Rita that was not a great match. And then he had a subsequent match that was better, and he's, really showed and developed his game hugely. He's mostly in Asia and Japan, in that sort of region of the world, competing in those events. 17-0 is a black belt right now.
Oh, wow.
Dude's mopping up. And then I saw him come into this match. I was like, ooh, because we don't get a chance to cover him on events we see. I know Tanabe's a monster. Yeah. But I just don't see him on a lot of like the world events very frequently.
And you see him with more local talent in that area.
Local and regional talent.
Regional talent as opposed to...
Still very good, just not as much in the U.S. events that we tend to cover more.
Or the European events, because this was European.
And I was like, okay, this is a tough match for both guys, but this is a match that I expected Langaker to win. Yeah. Tanabe comes out aggressive and then doesn't stop.
No,
his passing looks like he puts Langaker on the back foot defensively for most of this match.
He does.
And then he just puts a pace on Tommy that Tommy's never really able to settle into his game. And that's really where Tommy, the thing that Tommy Langaker does, and I saw a post years and years ago, it was Tommy Langaker at any point in the match can pull a rabbit out of his hat and submit you. Yeah. He's just one of the best guys in the world at that. So to have him and a guy like Igor Tanabe, who's kind of a similar way, have this result, it was just wild. Tanabe kind of teleports over his back in a basically a sweep reversal. Yeah. Gets to his back. Tommy's super low. His head is super low on Tanabe's chest. And Josh Palmer on commentary goes, oh, he's going to want to basically shuck him up higher so that, he can control the back better. Yeah. And I went, he's either going to do that or he's going to go for a weird collar choke here. Yeah. Because, again, we've seen Tanabe do in the past, and he has a tendency to go, to sell out on stuff low. And he does. He goes for the collar choke. But any other position... A guy like Langaker, you want to settle. Yeah, you want to have. I want to get back points on Langaker. I'm going to settle this position, but Tanabe goes for the finish, and it was just wild. I did not expect this result. I did not expect Tanabe to submit Langaker from the back, and Langaker was nearly out of the choke, but Tanabe slides him all the way low, and then gets his legs over. It was a really, really specifically low collar choke,
and it's a well executed choke.
Yeah. Really, really nice bow and arrow from the back, modified collar choke from the back. Not something we see finished in that particular way very frequently. No. So something I definitely want to pay attention to and probably look at again, just because that's a technique I'm looking for.
Yeah, I like that one. There was one that Kai Terra taught at a seminar that I did. Just like a modified. I always called it like a short person bow and arrow because you wrap your leg around their arm and then you pull the same direction as the arm you're pushing back. And most people don't really know how to get out of it. It's almost backwards to what you think would actually work. But it was great. And I love that one because I'm short. So when I go to do a normal bow and arrow, I have to be covering a very wide space, where this one allows me. And as a smaller person, sometimes I get way too high on people's backs, and then I can just pull the choke as opposed to having to readjust.
And this is a choke that I've played around with, but I've never had super success with. So it's cool to see a guy like Tanabe being able to kind of maintain the collar, and even when Langaker was as low as he was, be able to still have it across his neck and not have Langaker be able to slip his neck underneath the collar to get out and escape and control as well as he did. It's It's a neat choke. Tanabe's able to stay behind Langaker as Langaker falls off, which I think is why he gets it. But it's a combination of things, and it's an uncommon way to finish this particular choke. So it was neat. Next, another unconventional choke on this card. We have Steve Ray defeating Craig Ewers via neck crank twister variation is what BJ Heroes has it listed as.
Because it is kind of like a twister.
It's a twister.
Yeah, but the bottom half of the body control isn't the normal. Yeah.
So he had like a modified body triangle here for this, which is something we've seen. It's something I almost never saw probably 4 years ago.
Okay.
And we've seen like 3 times in the last like year, probably a year. I don't know how guys do it, but he has on like a low body triangle on you, and he hooks your leg, and he almost comes to mount with it in order to get the arm underneath his own. Twister is, go look up a twister if you haven't seen Twister before. There's no way for me to describe it. It is a spinal lock. It is a weird sub.
And it's complicated because you have to get their one arm kind of behind your head.
Behind your own head.
And then you got to reach their face. And then you basically twist the top half of their body the opposite direction of the body, bottom half of their body.
But typically to do that, you have to have your, what they call twister hook, or you have to have your outside, what's your name for it?
I think isn't it halfback?
You have a halfback control.
Like a halfback control?
Which is a hook on one of their legs from the back, and then you basically pass them to the other side of your body, have their arm behind your neck, and you can crank on their face and neck with their kind of a modified hand-over-hand
and
grip.
you kind of push their hips out as you pull their face towards you.
Because you have that control on the outside leg. You can operate on both ends like that, the head end and the leg end.
But I think the triangle direction, like the body triangle, allows you to do that because you're holding them so tight with your body triangle.
Yeah, I think that's why it works.
And that's why it works.
I've played with this with limited success. It's something I've never been able to get to work on people that are of comparable level.
What, twisters?
No, this variation with the body triangle. It's something that I've never really been able to get to work, so it's cool to see it working at a high level in a professional no-gi match, because it's just like, it's an uncommon way to finish this with the body triangle and the leg looped under and have it still work almost from like a side control and a mount versus a traditional twister, you're next to the guy.
Yeah.
So very neat sub. Any additional pieces on that?
No.
All right. Also on the card, we had Leon Layman defeating Brian Jenkins via decision. And we had Lloyd Cooper defeating Tom Barry via split decision. Polaris 18 is up on Fight Pass.
Fight Pass.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Again, the cards are really short. I like how Polaris runs it. I like their formatting. I like their judging.
Yeah.
I like their rule set. Overall, they produce, filming-wise, one of the top quality events.
It was kind of nice because it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was like I came home from training. I watched some jiu-jitsu, took a nap.
Shout out to the UK for being a different time zone and having events at like a normal time for us.
Yeah, so you don't have to stay up all late.
I love them and Grapple Fest. Like all the UK events, they're always a ton of fun because it's like,
I like listening. I like listening to them too.
I love listening to Palmer. Palmer's one of the best one of the best commentators.
There was a one of the undercard matches, they had this one guy like freaking like basically throw someone in a freaking takedown. It was like freaking amazing.
But the wrestler.
Like, yeah. Well, what's dude? I don't even know.
Oh my god!
I found him.
I don't have. I only have the main card results up right now.
But he was on the undercard. There was this wrestler dude. He had like his head taped because his like head cracked open, and like
he looked like Orlando Sanchez in ADCC 2015, 17.
Handled business.
Well, and the guy who was fighting stood up on him, and then he immediately ducked under for this fireman's, and then fireman him like off
off the stage, and then he got up and he just freaking hit him, and I was like, yes! I love that shit.
It was good. Again, Polaris is a lot of fun. I love watching it. I'm very happy that they happen at a reasonable time, and you can watch the whole thing live. Again, there's a lot here on this card, and I think people will see. We're going to see way more from Ash Williams. I think Ash Williams won trials. Or he came in second. I don't remember. I think we're going to see him at ADCC. Paula will probably see that back at ADCC.
Jed Hugh. Who won 66 at Europeans, right?
I think it was Ash.
It would have been Europeans.
I think Ash Williams won trials. I don't have the trials listed up, but I think he won trials.
Yeah.
So we're going to see him at ADCC. Jed Hugh with his performance over AJ. We're going to see probably at ADCC. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't, We'll see him probably on the short list. Tanabe is a guy we're going to see a lot more of in the gi. It's cool to see him getting a huge win. So these cards are really cool because it gives you kind of a window into the next 6 months or a year for guys and like where they're at. So I'm very big fan about it. What do you want to preview first?
Let's go Emerald City Invitational.
Emerald City Invitational.
Which is in Jersey this time around.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not in Atlantic City. It's in Jersey this time, I think.
I figure we're in Jersey. So we have a 185-pound tournament in this. This is a hell of a lineup, and I'm very, very excited. We don't have a bracket at this time. I'm guessing the bracket will come out probably Monday at like midday, of course, right before, after we've, before the show's out, but after we've recorded it. We have John Blank. We have Dante Leon, we have Giancarlo Bordoni, we have Nick Ronan, we have Isaac Michael, we have Oliver Taza, we have John Persman, we have Andre Petrosky, we have Sean Yadamarco, Alan Sanchez, Josh Hayden, Calvin Tracy, Isaiah Wright, John Combs, and then we have 2 qualifier winners that qualified through the Finisher Series, who we used to be able to cover that a little more. We have not, but they basically won a separate qualifier tournament that I love qualifier tournaments because it gives you an opportunity as a regular dude to enter a tournament and get your invite spot, which is partially why I love the ADCC trials for that same reason. Yeah. It really lets you put your money where your mouth is and like, you think you can qualify for it? Here's your invitation, open invitation. Anyone can come in and be a part of this versus, the top levels. We have Mateo Martinez and Steve Caston. So look for those guys, those qualifier winners in a couple years, or, can have breakout performances at any times. 2 guys that I'm not we've covered before, but not super familiar with, but always look out for your qualifier winners. Juni Ocasio was a Kasai qualifier winner.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to think of who else. Keith Krikorian was a EBI qualifier winner.
Oh, okay.
Like these qualifier winners are a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And they usually show like someone who's really on the rise, and so I love seeing them and love seeing them incorporated into more tournaments.
That's going to be a great bracket to watch.
So
when is that, the 4th? Which is what, Friday?
Yeah.
Saturday, Friday.
Is it Friday?
I think.
I don't know. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
But anyway.
So what do you think? So we don't have a bracket here, and I hate to speculate. We have John Blank, who was coming off of an injury at number 1 knee injury. Yeah. I talked to him a little bit at trials. Seemed like he's feeling a little better. Seemed like he's, he's moving around well.
Maybe not do triangles for a bit.
We have Dante Leon.
Which I love me some Dante Leon.
We all love Dante Leon. Who, again, looks great recently.
Looks great, yeah.
He looked really good at Who's Number 1. He, took 4th at Who's Number 1.
Yeah.
We have Giancarlo Bordoni just coming off his ADCC trials.
Amazing on trials.
He looked some of the best we've ever seen him at trials. This is a no-gi event as well. So he's coming off of that huge win. Nick Ronan also looked very good at trials as well. So did Isaac Mitchell.
Nick Ronan, was he at Grapple Fest? No? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right?
He just fought
he won
one of the Rotolos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And he looked, he held his own.
Yeah, he looked good.
He held his own well.
He surprised me with how good he looked. I expected him to be controlled more by, I think it was Ty.
I think it was Ty.
And he held his own and really
I expected Ty to kind
of
of blow him out of the water, and he didn't.
Mm-hmm. So, Nick Ronan is a guy that's made some adjustments to his game and, can contend with Ty.
Yeah.
That is no joke.
Oh,
so
no,
I'm super happy to see Nick Ronan off of that performance coming into this tournament. Taza, again, your ADCC European Trials winner at 66. At 77.
Yeah, 77.
Under 77.
So he is a little bit smaller than everybody else.
Mm-hmm. So I think right there, those are your top 6 or 8. I think they're going to bracket those on the opposite sides.
John Combs, can sometimes put on him.
John Combs, he's smaller though.
Yeah,
Combs is not an 85er.
Big. Combs did 77. Right? Yeah, he was in the 77 bracket.
And Combs is a guy that,
ADCC.
he has very, I'm not going to say hot and cold performances, but, when Combs is on, he is guillotining everyone. Yeah. But he can sometimes be pushed out of his game a little bit, kind of in the same way that Oliver Taza can.
Yeah.
Like, when Taza's on, very good. He's, on that bottom game, going for those knee bars, going for the leg locks, and he's on, and very few people can stop him. But if you can push him and pull him out of that game, or you can kind of have an off day, you can sort of
and he's on
take decisions.
He's on the smaller side when you look at Bordoni or John Black.
Yeah. Blank is definitely, I think, a comfortable 85er. But Taza bounces around too. Taza competes frequently at 85.
Really?
Yeah. He bounces between 55, 65, and 85.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's
But he doesn't, he sits around 60, doesn't he?
I think he sits around 80.
Really?
Yeah.
And he cuts that much?
He causes a guy that I'm always super surprised how much he can just get there in weight.
Some people can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends that can do that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Some Combs can also, like, we see him go up in weight frequently, but he usually sits at like 60.
But I always thought for whatever reason that Taza would just take matches at 85. That he wasn't even really close to that weight.
He's closer.
That he was more like at like 160,
I could be wrong about that,
like
but I know I've seen him weigh in.
I'll take 85.
He does. We know that, but I think he does sit a little higher. He always sits heavier than I anticipate him sitting.
Oh, okay.
But it may not be 80. I could be actually just wrong about that. I think it really depends on. Dante said he had a slight injury coming off of Grapple Fest.
Yeah.
How's that injury look?
Oh, true. I remember that now.
And John coming off knee injury. I think those two guys, and then Bordoni. It wouldn't surprise me.
I would say Bordoni.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Bordoni because he looked really good at ADCC.
And at Pans, and he's just looked really, really good. I'm curious to see how he matches up versus John or versus Dante. Those are the two matches that I think are stylistically really interesting with the wrestling and with the just attritive leg locks of Blank. Blank is a guy, he is so strong. He is so weirdly strong when guys grab him that throws people off. I don't think it will throw Bordoni off, especially if Bordoni's been training with Gordon.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a factor that kind of Blank can get to your legs and get to your legs hard and fast in a pretty unique way. Again, that's what got him to ADCC 2019 was that, unique way that he gets to the legs. So those are interesting matches. I think, I think Bordoni's the safe bet just with how good he looked at trials.
Yeah. And it also depends on bracketing.
Yeah.
They could bracket all these guys.
This is also an EBI style event. True. So you have the overtime.
Oh.
So Blank, amazing at the overtime, being a 10th Planet guy. Dante, very good at the overtime. He has experience there. Bordoni, trains with Gordon and all them. They do the overtimes. It'll be an interesting bracket. I'm very, very excited for this one. This is would not surprise me to see someone outside of that take it, but I think the top 6 guys there are probably the front runners. Obviously, they're listed on the top there. So it should be fun. Yeah. Any kind of closing thoughts on that? That's all we have now. We don't have any super fights lined up.
They have a bunch of super fights too, but
I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I know they were advertising a bunch of them.
Yeah,
but.
And Emerald City is always a lot of fun. I really enjoy how their events run. So I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be a fun night to watch.
Should be a lot of fun. Next one, you want to do Grapple King 6?
We'll do Grapple King 6.
We get the main card. We have Ash Williams again.
It's in England? I think it's in England.
All right, Miranda. I didn't know.
I will Google this now.
Grapple King 6 in England, according to Miranda.
Yes.
Main event here we have.
See, I made this wonderful flow chart for us with all of our stuff on it.
It's England. I'm looking at the names here because we read through them earlier.
I don't have it.
Ashley Williams versus Robert Deagle for the lightweight title. So that's definitely, good. That'll be a fun one. We saw Robert on, was it Polaris versus Camille? I think, who's also on the card. He was able to. He played a very kind of slow-paced game, really butterfly scoot game. Ashley Williams coming off of the win over Paulo. I think he's probably going to come out aggressive on top with passing, and I'm curious to see how he's going to deal with the leg lock game of Deagle because that's really where we see Deagle make his hay. Also in trials, we just saw Deagle. Again, that's what he did. He got some really fast heel hooks early rounds of trials.
It's in Port Leos.
Can I see how it's spelled? Because that was a very unconfident. Huh.
I've never heard of that.
Europe.
Oh, Great Britain? No. It just says Port Leos.
It's one word, by the way.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, this is the geography section of the podcast where Maine doesn't own a globe.
Oh,
So, next match, but before we get on too much of a tangent on geography, Rocha Welsh versus Ashley Bendo. That is for the also for a lightweight title. There's 2 lightweight titles on the card. I'm not sure why.
How do they have 2 lightweight titles?
I'm guessing one is a 45 title, one is a 55 title, and they've written them incorrectly. We have Tom Batcher versus Shane Fisher for the what's LH? Light heavyweight?
So light heavyweight is Ash versus Deagle, which they spelled Deagle wrong.
Light heavyweight?
Is light heavyweight is Ash Williams versus Deagle with the misspelling.
Okay.
And then lightweight title is Rosa That's females. Rosa versus Ashley. That's what
sense.
It is.
Yep.
And then there's a lightweight title, and that's Tom versus Shane. Yeah.
Awesome. We also have Camille Wilk on the card versus Josh Williams, Miles Price versus Chris Rees. We have Frank Rosenthal versus Neil Atkins on the card. Should be a fun card. Looking forward to it. Also, a nice listings on the undercard as well. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see coming off the win.
Ireland. It's in Ireland.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm curious to see.
And it's 2 words, so they
made it one word.
2 things. They made 1 word.
I'm curious to see how Ashley deals with, again, Deagle's leg locks. We've seen, again, Ashley just won trials, just takes that big win over Paulo. Deagle, going into it, exactly the game that he's going to play.
If you shut Deagle down,
yeah, then
there's if he's never able to get the positioning that he wants, he won't throw.
And that's sort of the problems that we saw him have in trials.
Yeah.
With he didn't really want to wrestle up in trials, but again, the rule set here is much different. And then we saw him versus in Polaris for the same thing, kind of get shut down a little bit. If Ash sort of just did the same thing to Paulo, but from the bottom instead of from the top. Deagle's going to pull into the butterfly and scoot towards you. It just is can he do that? Can Ash do that from the top as well?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Should be a really interesting stylistic matchup that will answer a lot of questions, I think, about both guys' game moving into ADCC for Ash. And then moving into the second trials for Deagle. Fight to win on the preview for Fight to Win 189. We have a bunch of fun matchups here. We have Junie Ocasio versus Hiago George. I think this is going to be Junie looking for the feet and George defending the feet.
Yeah.
We can see Hiago's an amazing competitor. He's definitely going to be bigger than Ocasio. I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to leverage that weight versus Ocasio, but what Junie does on fight.
Yeah, Ocasio is also very, he knows how to get under you.
Yeah.
And so
he's very good at it.
Yeah, even if someone has more weight than him, I've watched him go and get under people and elevate them and be able to do all of that. So I don't think that'll be a huge problem.
The weight disparity is probably not going to be a huge problem.
Yeah.
Again, Ocasio, last time we saw him at trials, looked good at trials. I forget who took him out at trials. Do you remember?
Was it
Achilles or was it Todd? No, Achilles was 85.
No. Because he was 66, right? Did he go against...
was it Abate?
It was either Abate or... I don't know.
I just need to keep that bracket up for the next 6 months as we talk about it, because that's where we saw that was the biggest conglomeration of people that we've seen in forever. Yeah, I don't remember exactly who he went across. Do you have it or no?
I'm looking.
Okay.
It'll take me a second.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm curious to see if Junie, because Junie has been really not upset at Mikey Musumeci because Mikey basically called that knee bar heel hook combination the Mikey lock, and that's a thing that Junie's been hitting for a couple of years now. I think it's back as far as 2018 or 2017. So I'm curious to see if we see Junie looking to get one of those in competition in order to sort of pull the name back into whatever it was named prior.
Was it DeAndre Korb?
It was Cobre?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, so that is one of the big things I'm curious about, if Junie's going to look for that specific knee bar heel hook in order to sort of take it back and get one on the big stage versus a huge name like Hiago George. We also have Michael Lira Jr. versus Pj Barch as well. This is, again, Nogi. Really interesting to see. I'm curious to see how Barch looks after trials. Barch looked next level.
Yeah, he looked
at
great
trials.
at trials.
I don't know. We haven't seen as much from Michael Lira Jr. Again, always dangerous, always very, very good. I think this will be a game of inches for both guys. I don't see Barch submitting Michael Lira Jr., but I could see him kind of leaning heavy into the feet for this one. But I think this one will answer a ton of questions about other aspects of... I think this, with Michael Lira's game, I think this will test Barch in ways that we have not seen him tested in a bit here. Michael Lira has a tricky, crafty game.
Okay.
And Barch, coming off the big ADCC camp, I don't think he ran into anyone at trials that will have a game that is even close to similar to Michael Lira at the level that Michael Lira is. So.
I mean, he also had a really good... string of matches at Worlds, at Nogi Worlds.
Yeah.
Pj Barch did, because he lost by not very much, maybe 2 points.
Something small.
To that we just talked about on Emerald City. Dante Leon.
Okay.
He lost by like maybe 2 points.
Yep.
2 points on a sweep, I think, or something. I mean, it was something. It was something small. But PJ looked great, and he did. Yeah. He played both top and bottom in all of his matches.
Him at trials.
Yeah, trials was freaking amazing.
Trials Barch looked unstoppable. So I think that is my big curiosity is how will Lira be able to challenge him, and then Barch coming off of that huge ADCC camp where he's just looked better and better. Yeah. And Barch's guys continue to make improvements.
And it didn't seem like he took much damage. I mean, he was probably exhausted after trials.
That was what happened in the previous trials, West Coast trials, where he blew his knee out. Yeah. And that was so unfortunate. I think in the semifinals, and he wasn't able to continue. Yeah. So it's cool to see him get through a trials. Again, not win the trials, but look phenomenal.
Amazing.
And showcase, he really does belong and get there. So Michael Lira, I think, is going to challenge him in interesting ways. And we're going to learn more about where Lira's at and more about Barch's game coming in. So that does it for next week. 2 weeks from now, we have Worlds, which is happening in December for some reason. Yeah. It's a weird year. It's a weird year.
Anaheim, right? I think it's California. I think it's California because I debated all of a sudden really just doing it and seeing what the fuck happens. Because I have tendency to do that every once in a while.
Good luck, Miranda.
Yeah,
my
paperwork expires on the 1st, and then I have to get it re-signed because I have to switch all my shit over. So
over to balance over to us.
Have Phil sign everything.
It's not hard to do.
No, I hear it's probably easier than I used to have to do.
Yeah, but it's still doesn't make it not annoying. Doesn't make the fees and everything. It's a whole process. So. Yeah. Well, you got anything fun planned for the week?
Nope.
Anything good planned?
I don't think so. Oh, isn't Chris getting his black belt on Thursday?
He is, yeah. Chris.
So, the head instructor at Baltimore BJJ is getting his black belt on Thursday.
That would be fun. I'll have to bump my classes for the university
I had to think about that.
To get there in time.
I know. I have to figure out my whole work schedule.
Yeah, I gotta move things around because I'm not missing a black belt promotion at the gym.
No, and then there's regular
exciting.
Promotions on Saturday.
Yeah, we got to plan for that. Talk to some of the guys this evening on our open mat that are getting promoted to blue belt. I think other guys are getting blue belts. Yeah. So that'll be exciting. It's always cool to see guys talk about preparing for their first gauntlets.
Yeah, and for us, we get to have a gauntlet, which is great. We just get to beat the shit out of people.
I like everyone sort of comes together at promotion times to lift up everyone in the gym.
Oh yeah.
And everyone tightens up their technique, and it's just I love promotions, and we have promotions based on where I'm at. I'm at a couple different gyms essentially. Yeah. I'll do promotions 6 or 8 times a year, depending on where I'm traveling at, because I run a gym. There's the other gym. And so it gives people a chance to tighten up their technique, and I just love seeing that and being a part of that. People coming to you and hey, coming into this gauntlet or this belt test, I'm trying to tighten up these things, and they come to you with problems, and you get to, as the upper belt, give solutions and give insight into the process.
The gauntlet is no joke.
It's legit.
It's hard.
We do the rolling we do the Shark Tank gauntlet, not the other weird gauntlets, but
not the weird we beat you with your belt gauntlet.
If you're into that, by all means. But even Fabio Gagel, who made that,
I got beat by my belt. I'm trying to think. It was white belt. It was some point during my white belt, we did the full gauntlet. I got beat with my belt going down.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Even Fabio Gagel, who invented that in the 80s or 90s, was that wasn't a good idea. We shouldn't do that anymore. So if the guy who invented
if you know how to crack it right, I mean, you can crack somebody.
Yeah, so let's not beat people up that we train with unnecessarily. So that's my thought. Again, I don't lean too much into the gym stuff we are, but there's big stuff going on in our gyms recently, so that's always fun and exciting. I'm also back to training more now with my leg and my back post-surgery, so I'm very happy about that. Good. And that's it. So I'm just going to heal up. We're going to get back moved in from the trip we had this weekend up to Maine to see our families and in-laws. So that was fun. And
I stayed home and just trained a bunch.
I
didn't take any days off this week at all.
For you.
And then I trained twice today.
Good for you.
So I'm falling apart right now.
Yeah.
I'm literally falling apart.
25 hours in a car in the last 4 days. So I'm very, very ready to just take a chill day, but tomorrow back to work. So
right. It is what it is.
It is what it is. So as with on the show, I'm your host Maine. I'm the co-host
Miranda.
We got the Grappling Rewind. To see you on the mat. Whatever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google Plus.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.